Sure. Now, Togo's president has spoken out for the first time since a wave of protests began in August. At least 16 people have been killed in anti-government demonstrations demanding presidential term limits. Farouk Gnassingbé took power in 2005, cementing his family's 50-year rule. Charlotte Bellis reports.
There was no sign of the unrest gripping Togo as Gnassingbé walked into his party's annual congress. The Togolese president spoke publicly for the first time since violence aimed at him erupted 2 months ago.
You will agree with me that we are going through a tough political crisis in the country. Today, those who intoxicate, those who lie, have found allies in technology and can turn a righteous thing, a simple man like me, into a bloodthirsty dictator.
Until now, Gnassingbé has stayed off the public stage since opposition parties rallied to introduce a 2-term limit for the presidency. He took power in 2005 after the death of his father, who ruled Togo for 38 years. It's Africa's longest-serving political dynasty. Hundreds of thousands of people have rallied for the end of Gnassingbé family rule since August. Opposition leaders say that instead of listening to the demands of the people, the government has orchestrated a brutal crackdown. At least 16 people have been killed.
We will free ourselves. We will fight by all means necessary. It's very important for us. We have the people on our side.
And yet the president says he remains serene and optimistic.
This joyful moment we are sharing should not let us forget that we are going through a crisis. It is true that we have also gone through difficult moments in the past, and we have to be bold, courageous and patient to embrace the situation.
His party's Congress was a safe platform to address the socio-political crisis, but West African leaders want him to do more. The region's trade bloc and the African Union fear the instability, with hundreds fleeing Togo to Ghana because of the unrest. Charlotte Bellis, Al Jazeera.
And yeah, for such a small country, the conversation has been amazingly bold and consistent, yes, hasn't it?
Very consistent, and it's been unified as well. We've been following the conversation in Togo since the protests started in August, but the message among those online and on the streets is very much the same. They want President Gnassingbé to resign. Now, according to Reuters news agency, the government has banned marches and mass protests on weekdays, but last week, young protesters set up barricades with bricks and burning tires and threw stones at security forces. Police responded with tear gas. Now, the hashtags driving the conversation on Facebook and Twitter have grown since the protests started. The top two are Togo is standing and Togo is awake. The messages shared online have not changed since August, but continue to gain momentum. We spoke to Faria Naburima. She's a human rights activist, very active online. She had this to say.
We find it very appalling and offensive that despite the impasse that we are in, with over 500 people who have fled the country, at least 15 that got killed and many others wounded and in jail, that the president of Togo has remained quiet and has never, not even once, addressed the citizens of this country about the ongoing crisis in Togo. Instead, he decides to attend the Congress of his political party, UNI, and tell his militants that people have found an ally in technology to smear him. That is absolutely disrespectful to the citizens of this country.
This newspaper headline was from just after the last round of protests. It reads, "The regime is ready to plunge Togo and the region into instability." But as we heard the president say, he said, quote, "We have to be bold, courageous, and patient to embrace this situation." So does that mean, what does that mean rather for those who want the president to step down and want term limits? If you're in Togo, we want to hear from you. Be sure to tweet us your thoughts with hashtag AJNewsGrid, or you can always write me privately at Leah Harding, AJE.
And with the protests showing no signs of slowing down, Al Jazeera spoke to Janine Ella Abatan, a West Africa researcher based in Dakar, Senegal, about the protests against the president, Farouk Gnassingbé, and how the crisis may be resolved. You can find that on our website.